Okay, so on the test, you'll also have to write a few methods. So I'm going to have you practice one here with me. And so this method is to count the number of zeros in a number. So for example, if it passed in 3200, it would return 2 for the 2 zeros. This one has no zeros, so it would return 0. This one has 4 zeros, so it would return 4. So sorry, this note is from when I used to do this in class with the kids. So I'm just going to have it do it with me. So if you want to load up an editor or write it out on paper or just type it up in a TextPad program, however you want to do it, your goal is to write out the method. So if you want to start with just what the heading would be, like what has to be return and what has to be input. Um, yeah, so read the description, then type out the heading quick. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to try the heading. Okay, so I'm gonna do it here in Eclipse with you, and the way this works is it has to take in an int, right, based on how it looks in here. It has to take in an int right here, and it has to return an int representing how many zeros are in the number. Okay, so the heading would be public static int, because it returns an int that counts how many zeros there are, and then give it the name count zeros, and then it passes in a number. Okay, and so that's what the setup would look like for the count of zeros. All right, and how to actually count the zeros, I would say there's roughly 2 different algorithms you could do here. Um, so again, pause the video and see if you could come up with one first, and then we'll talk through them. Okay, so one possible way would be to turn this into a string and then just go letter by letter to see if the position you're at is a 0. And if it is, add 1 to the count. All right, the way that the do it on the AP test a lot is use mod. So basically, they do mod 10, which will always get you the last digit. The remainder when you divide by 10 will just be the last digit. And then basically you could check if that is 0 and then go on to check the next digit. And they do that by dividing by 10 so that it just truncates off the last number. So just to make a little more sense of it, maybe if I go back here and talk about this a little bit, if I do like 4, 3, I'm going to put a 0 in here, 6, 1. Basically, if I do mod 10, so mod 10, the first time through that'll be 1, right? And then it's not 0, so we don't have to add to the count. But then when you divide by 10, so if you divide this by 10, you get 4306.1. And because the integers truncate, it just chops that off, and our number becomes 4306. So that when I do mod 10 the second time, it gets me the last digit of 6. Then divide by 10, and so again, that'll give you 430.6, but it'll chop off that last digit because of truncation. And now we'll just have 430. Now when we do mod 10, that gets us the last digit of 0, and so that would add 1 to our count because it is a 0. So it's basically mod 10 divide by 10, and that is the way I'm going to do this question, just because that's how they normally do it on the AP test. So you could turn it into a string, but I'm going to do it the way they do it on the AP test. So I'm going to do a count of the zeros, which will be nothing at the beginning. I'm going to return that at the end. So basically, we're going to increase the count by 1 each time we find a 0, starting with 0. And then I'm just going to do a while loop. So while the number is greater than 0, and you'll see why that makes sense here in a second. Right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the last digit. So I'm going to just call it last digit, and I'm going to get that by doing mod 10. Okay, and then here's where I'm going to do my count. So if that last digit is a 0, then I'm going to add to the count. All right, and then I just have to change number. So number becomes whatever it was before divided by 10. So it'll chop off the last digit, and then we'll keep looping as long as we're greater than 0. Right, and so sort of the last time through, so if I go back to this example, the last time through my number will be 4, so last digit will be 4, and then it'll divide by 10, in which case it becomes 0.4, and then it just chops it off, which is 0. So basically when I hit a 0, that means I've got to the end of my number. Okay, so basically here, I'm just going to keep going while the number is greater than 0. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to try this out and see if it works. So I'll hit go button, and there's 2 zeros in the first one and 4 zeros in the last one, so it seems to be working pretty well. Right, so sorry I'm missing my return statement there, but that's the full method, right, that counts the number of zeros in an input value int. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. You'll have to write a couple methods on the test. Have a good day.